Hello and welcome to Healthy Livin International. I'm Rita, personal coach, licensed hypnotherapist, founder of Healthy Livin International. Here on our website and our YouTube channel, we share proven ways of how to help us evolve into healthier versions of ourselves, whether it is becoming healthier mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and even financially. Today, we are so fortunate to have with us on our series interview with our health gurus, Vasanthi Pillay. Now, she herself has told me she doesn't like to be called a guru because she has so many gurus out there. And I was just explaining to her actually just at the start of this session that here on our channel, gurus are just termed generically, not necessarily based on that kind of level of gurus, but more people who have had a very long relationship with a particular area and they're so comfortable with it, it's always good to share it with a wider community. So with that reassurance, I think she's so humble, such a beautiful creature. We are so fortunate to have her here on our series. So welcome, Vasanthi Pillay. All right, now she has a beautiful set of titles under her belt. Okay, let me just share the screen so that you guys out there can get to know a little bit about her. All right, and just very quickly to just give us an idea. Now, some of us may not actually know of this term, and some of us may actually know this term Ayurveda, okay? And people generally call or term it as basically one of the world's oldest healing systems. I think it's one of the more proven systems that heal in a very, very natural way, the body, the mind, the spirit as well. And we have an expert in this area to talk to us, to share with us, so that we get more enlightened in this area. Okay. Now, Vasanthi Pillay is the founder and the president of the the Aryuveda Association of Singapore. She's also the director of the Innergy Aryuveda and Yoga Private Limited, and she has a whole list of titles under her belt. She's a counselor, she's a teacher trainer, she's a trainer, okay, and a wonderful person as well. Okay, so we are so honored to have her here today and to share with us, a few of the insights, share a few insights and a few elements into this, okay? So let's get the ball rolling, okay? Vasanthi, you have a long experience with Ayurveda, and people always see you as a public persona, founder, leader, and that is that public image that you project. Now, what is Vasanthi really like, at the personal level, at the personal angle. In fact, I remember watching a YouTube video, and it was our ex leader, President of the United States, Barack Obama. He was asked the same question, that he was asked like, you always call the shots, on stage. How is it like at home? And he went, oh no, at home, my kids, and my wife actually, hold the reins. So what's Vasanthi like at home, as a member of the family, as a little girl growing up? Who is Vasanthi like as a person? You want to share it with us in this YouTube community?
Thank you, Rita. First, thank you very much for having me on the show. And thank you for your interest in Ayurveda. That's where my interest is. Well, as a kid, just like any other kid, and I'm very fortunate. My family, we are a big family. We had three brothers. I have three brothers, two sisters. So three boys, three girls.
Okay.
And just like kids, we would be playing a lot. And, that was back in 1960s. I was born in 1964. So at that time, no computers and also a lot of playing. All I remember as a childhood is playing, playing, playing. We didn't have tuition.
Me
But
too.
we made
Me
it.
too. No question, right? Yeah.
Yes, and we made it all the way to university. There was no problems with that, and we all surviving. So so we used to play games like yay yay. So because there were three boys and three girls, the girls would have our own games. We would play five stones and all. the boys would play their own football. But when we come together, we played a game called Rounders. You know,
Okay.
crocodile. Do you remember those games?
Yes,
Yeah, those.
yes,
Yeah. So that was really a fun childhood that I had.
yes. Did you play the skipping rope one where we
Oh
made
yes,
skipping rope out of rubber bands, right? We made it out of rubber bands and we had to put it like at different levels and we had to jump. It was
yes,
so fun, right?
yes. That was called Yay Yay.
Okay, that's called yay. Okay, we didn't really call it yay at that time, but I knew it was a skipping rope kind of thing, but made of rubber
Yeah.
bands, you know?
Yes, and then you put it at different level, even to your ear level, and
Yeah,
then here the person has to
it's
jump.
so
Yes,
amazing. I could jump then, you know. Now I don't think I want to try.
me too.
Yeah. Did you play hopscotch as well?
Oh
It's
yes,
hopscotch, right? So yeah, a lot of
yes.
things. Yeah. So
You know, then there was the chappe, literally everything you can think of. You know.
you're quite an active person, basically growing
Yes,
up, right? Okay.
very, very yes.
Okay. What about your personality? You know, the public image is always the more masculine one, right? Take charge, founder, leader, speaker. What's the private side like? You know?
Just like anyone else, I'm human. You know, I do get angry. You know, we do have, when we were young, we used to have quarrels and all. But I'm very fortunate. My family is close knit. Like, you know, as we are, when you're young, you'll fight over small, small things. But when you grow older, it's like, yeah, you can have it, no big deal, you know, that kind of thing. So now we are all in our 50s. We don't feel that need to fight over things. And again, we are very fortunate. My mother really did a good job in making sure we were united in growing up. And father used to tell a lot of stories. And mother also used to tell a lot of stories about unity, family values, and all. So I feel very grateful and fortunate to have those kind of foundation growing up.
Good, yeah. So you're very family rooted. I can see that.
Yes.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
a little bit of sharing. You were sharing with me about your Deepavali celebrations, and I noted that very personal side about you. You're actually very loving and very caring. You actually were cooking. You know, your family members are so lucky to have you slaving, you know, over the stove for their favorite foods. You know, so I saw that personal side of Vasanthi. You know, very loving, very caring, very warm. Which is, I don't think so, you know, I mean, we do see you have that aura about you, which is very warm, but that very personal side where you actually take care of the needs of your family members. You know what is their favorite food, and you actually, you know, make an effort to do that. That's a very, very loving and caring, sensitive side, which I think people don't get to see that as much. So your family members are really lucky.
To be very honest, Rita, I was not like that before. When I was working, right? So after graduating from university, I worked in companies and all, and I was a very hard person, very, very hard person.
Okay.
Honestly, that was who I was, and I would get angry very easily. But I am honest, I keep saying honestly, but I am very fortunate
Okay.
to have learned Ayurveda and yoga, because initially I taught it more as a commercial purpose. I still do. But when I started imbibing it, when I started applying it, when I started actually immersing in it, there was a huge shift in my personality. So many people noticed that this is the Vasanthi in 1995, you were different, you know. So I believe that there's that transition as well.
Yeah, and I noticed that with people that go into this kind of line, you know, whether it's yoga, meditation, Ayurveda, we kind of like mellow and that feminine side, being more aware of our body, but being more aware of our emotions, how it gets kind of developed, you know,
Yes, yes.
which brings me naturally to the second question I'm dying to ask you is that how did you gravitate towards Ayurveda? You know, it's like, is there a personal story you'd like to share with us?
Yes, yes. Actually, there are a few reasons. And interestingly, my family, we don't have that Ayurveda background per se, but we have what we call the folk medicine. things that are taught in the kitchen. So you call it kitchen pharmacy. And I, as a kid, used to love spicy food, and then eating spicy food, I would end up with gastric pain. So
Oh,
my father would take me back and forth to the hospital many times. My parents, I remember just going there and then getting that white liquid, and then still the pain would persist. One day my grandmother was in my house, and she noticed I was suffering from gastric pain, and she just went to the kitchen, concocted an interesting porridge, and just like that, Rita, when I consumed it, my pain was gone. And I'm thinking, this old woman who never went to university has actually helped me. When I've been going back and forth to hospital, there was no cure. That was my first trigger point for my, Ayurveda. I didn't realize it was Ayurveda then, but it made me realize that there's something about food that is actually curing me. Then subsequently, my mother would also, like whenever we have fever, she will make a kind of a soup that will help aspire and bring the fever down. So these were little things that I noticed in my life. And then along the way, the different subjects, I took human social biology. I love biology, the human body. So I go deeper into it. I have a lot of questions which tied up with philosophy. I would ask my teacher questions which she couldn't answer, right? More going to the first cause. What is the
you
cause
were
of
very
this?
smart, man. Smart woman asking questions teachers can't answer. Okay, go on, go
Now,
on.
I was like very curious about the human body, as in like, where is life coming from? To a point where she said, oh, the heart beats. And then I said, what causes the heart to beat? She said, the pacemaker. I said, what causes the pacemaker? And she's like dumbfounded. Then I would go deeper and deeper into it, and I became more philosophical in that sense. I think you can say. Finally, in 1995, my life journey brought me to India to learn yoga, to become a yoga teacher. And then I came across Ayurveda. I came back to Singapore and I studied Ayurveda in a structured way. And I was absolutely amazed when I found out that Ayurveda is 8 branches and one of it was surgery. When that teacher told that surgery was one of the part of Ayurveda, I don't know why something just triggered in me, and I felt I needed to tell everyone about it. My passion just grew. Why? I don't know.
Okay, okay, very interesting. Yes. So based on your grandma, and what she gave you, and then this interest in school, in bio, it kind of slowly evolved and grew from there. It's wonderful, wonderful. Now you have gone through so much, with Ayurveda. All right, you've gone through. I think you've experienced so much, right? You have seen so much. So, based on what you have experienced right now, how would you, if I were to ask you, how would you define Ayurveda? Because 20 years ago, you would have perceived Ayurveda quite differently, right? In fact, you just sharing that you were quite a different person actually 20 years ago compared to right now. So how you would have perceived Ayurveda 20 years ago would be very different from how you would have perceived Ayurveda now, given your plethora of experiences. So if you were to summarize it for us, to you at this current stage, what does Ayurveda mean to you personally?
You see, before, like I said, when I became passionate about Ayurveda, I would give a lot of talk, and I would just talk academically.
Okay.
Ayurveda is actually, Ayu means life, Veda means knowledge. So it's the knowledge of life, everything that pertains to life. So I used to give this talk academically, but when I started imbibing the philosophy of it, what does it mean to say that Ayurveda is life? For example, when you look at soil, many people think Ayurveda is food, many people think Ayurveda is treatment. Ayurveda is all about life. From the time you are born till the day you pass on, every aspect. Now, food, we think is just that food that comes on the table. Ayurveda says food starts with the soil, which actually makes sense. Because I am a living being, the soil is a living thing. It cannot be treated as something that is not living. And for me, my whole body is made up of food. So I am food, right? When I eat something, I am of all these bananas, cereal, oats, whatever I eat is what makes up my tissue. So to go deep into it and see life, the body is made up of this thing that comes from the soil. The soil is a living thing.
And Ayurveda is a science of life. And then from what I knew Ayurveda then and now, I add a lot of science to it. So I do a lot of research. And when I add that science, and I can see why it is called a science of life, the whole living. And that's how I would see Ayurveda. It was like that time, but I never perceived it, or I didn't have that. We call it the word wisdom. Ayurveda is very steeped in philosophy.
Yes.
Many people just take only diet, lifestyle, medicine, and just go to the technical part of it. But it is very, very steeped in philosophy, questioning life. So from there comes the body. And the body also has what you call the mind. The body has all these together. So it is a holistic science that takes so many aspects into consideration. And interestingly, you will see that only in the early 1900 that modern science accepted mind that can cause disease. Now you can see they're talking about mental health. Ayurveda, one of the branches, is all about mental health. They call it Manasaroga. It's amazing, 5,000 years ago, they discovered that. So it's not just physical, it is mental, it is emotion. And interestingly, they also say things like anger, grief, all these we have to overcome, because if we don't overcome, it will show up in the body as disease. So you can see it is actually a huge science, an interrelationship between me, my mind, my body, my I don't like to use the word soul, but the true self. True self is the right word. It's all there, plus the relationship between me and the universe. So it's all encompassing. So Ayurveda, Ayu is life, Veda is knowledge. The knowledge of life, when I have this knowledge and I live in harmony with the universe and nature, I can bring the balance to my body for health.
Wow. Okay. So really, it has the meaning of the definition of Ayurveda for you now has really evolved, from to one very grounded in science and to one which is very grounded in the philosophy of life. So it has a lot more depth for you right now. At this stage of your life, you see a lot more colors and shades with it. And I'm very glad you brought up the point about Ayurveda, linking every aspect, the emotions with the body, because what happens in the body, our physiology, happens in the psychology and vice versa. So that resonates in even in Western psychology. It's like it infiltrates very nicely together. Ayurveda, I think, embraces everything that is universally true. So it's so wonderful at this stage that you see it linking up in such a deep area, and also a very scientifically based, a universal based, kind of perspective. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. Beautiful.
It's not just it's not just the body and the mind, but also the environment.
Yes.
So for example, when we talk about cooking, it's how you cook the food with a lot of love. So my mother is one person, when she is cooking, you cannot go and make her angry, because she's so focused on the food. And I can tell you, it's one of the most delicious food, my mother's food. There's a lot of love in it.
The soul and the heart is in it.
Yes.
Energy.
Yes.
Somehow it's like this quantum physics, right? The energy, we are all atoms and energy, vibrational. And so it gets infused into it as well, so
Exactly.
I totally get that. I totally get that. Yeah. Okay, now let's ask you a question that I think a lot of us want to know, especially in the area of Ayurveda and diseases. Okay, I'm going to pick two diseases, diabetes and myopia. Okay, why I'm picking these two diseases is because these two, among many others, but these two have also plagued Singapore. I think just this year in February, I think MOH released the figures about 19,000 Singaporeans are diagnosed with diabetes yearly. So the stats is quite astounding. And then, and of course in Singapore, we are termed like, we are dubbed like a diabetic nation. We are, I think the government is trying to wage this war against sugar, against diabetes, and it's like a lifestyle disease that has overtaken Singaporeans. And then the second disease is like, I don't even know whether I can call it disease, but the second aspect is myopia, and why myopia is because, well, in Singapore, we have one of the highest myopia rates in the world. So I've been reading a lot, also talking to some people, and I noticed that there are two schools of thought. One school of thought seems to say that Ayurveda is not really effective in treating diabetes and myopia reduction. And then there is another school of thought that's quite the opposite, actually. The research, the literature seems to suggest that it's actually quite effective in treating diabetes and myopia. Now, what is your view based on your experience? Is it effective? Your own experiences, for yourself, your family, your clients, your students, which school of thought resonates more with you?
Of course, Ayurveda.
Okay.
You see, why is you have to see Ayurveda in the perspective from Ayurveda lenses.
Okay.
Right? So when you look at from a reductionist approach, you only look at disease, pancreas, you look at the diabetes. Ayurveda looks at the person and the lifestyle as well. Now, Ayurveda has a concept of 6 stages of disease. The disease manifests as diabetes as stage 5. And then stage 6, it becomes a complicated disease. It shows up in the organ. The first 4 stages, it is an unmanifested stage where we can actually correct with diet and lifestyle. Now, Ayurveda has medicine, but there is a very important underlying principle. If we do not change the diet and lifestyle, the medicine and treatment is going to be useless. So the responsibility is on the other person. Now, stress is a major cause for diabetes. Now, if you look at the physiology, people don't seem to understand. They think it's only sugar. Now, when we are under stress, the body is preparing to run, right? Because the body thinks that we have come across, a few hundred years ago, we used to live in a cave, right? In the open area where our danger was all the animals. So every time we see an animal, the body sees that there's a threat and then it will prepare us to run. Now, when we are preparing to run, all the hormones will be released. And one of the hormones is to release glucose in the body for energy, for me to run. Now, when glucose is released in the body for me to run, I have to run physically so that I use up that glucose. But if I'm just sitting in the chair and I'm worried sick about my children's exam, worried sick about this, the glucose is still released, but it's not being used up. That's one of the reasons of diabetes. Do you understand? So there is still that glucose in the body. So it's not always the sugar intake. Sugar intake, yes, one of it. Secondly, Ayurveda talks about 20 types of diabetes. Only the modern science only sees 2. Recently, they've discovered the 3rd type.
Yes, type 1.
And I saw
the 3rd one recently only. You're right. So now you tell me they have always known there's more than that. Wow. Carry on.
20 types, exactly. Of the 20 types, they have divided into what we call the Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Vata, 4 types, not curable. Pitta and Kapha, Kapha is very curable. Pitta type is in between, you can manage and cure. So it is all dependent on the stage of the disease within the 6th stage. It's dependent on what we call your prakriti, your Ayurveda constitution. No human being is the same according to Ayurveda. We all have the 5, I don't like to use the word elements because elements gives it that reductionist view. It is called the 5 states. Just like the Chinese medicine, they have the 5 wood, fire, wind, and all those. Yes. Ayurveda has 5 called the space, air, fire, water, and earth. We have all of it in different permutation. And you and I are different because of the percentage. Now, because of that, a treatment for you may not, both of us may have diabetes, but because your prakriti, your permutation, your constitution is different from mine, the same treatment that works for you will not work for me. So when you look at the modern way of treating diabetes, then they say an individual, this is the treatment for all individual. Ayurveda doesn't look at it that way. Ayurveda sees the individual first. What is your lifestyle? What is your prakriti? What is this? And then the medicine will be customized for that individual.
Okay.
The current way is there is this medicine, you are an individual, let's just bombard. No. So that is why people say you will see conflicting research information that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If they use the reductionist method, because when you go for any Ayurveda treatment, first they will see, okay, you have this, how are you responding to it? If you're responding not good, then we'll have to change it. But when you do research, you cannot change. You have to use the same method throughout the end. So you can't change and then you will see no result in the person, the medicine doesn't work. That's not how Ayurveda works.
Okay, that's great. What about myopia then? Is there any concrete specific steps or, that someone can take, whether it is specific eye exercises or specific ingredients that they can take to reduce myopia, to treat diabetes? Is there something specific and tangible that if you take it or you do it on a consistent basis, it does show up as improvement in these two aspects? You can even demo some of them with us if you can. Yeah.
Okay, you see, it's like I mentioned, everything is specific. We cannot give a generalized answer because your body type, your situation, all can be different. So I generally don't like to give this online, yes, there's specific, because I don't know what is a person's constitution. Because like I said, the Vata type of diabetes, there's no cure.
Okay.
Because Ayurveda sees, like I mentioned, the 5 constitution, sweet is all the sweet and sugar is made up of earth and water. So too much of earth, water in the body, we have to reduce it. To reduce it, you need bitter.
Okay.
So sweet, the opposite. So Ayurveda looks at in terms of opposite. So to reduce, you need bitter. But bitter can also increase the space and air. Now, if I have too much of space and air, then maybe that the bitter treatment may not work. I may have to compensate with something else as well. So to put that aside and say, generally, if you want an answer, all kinds of bitter food will actually help with diabetes, because diabetes is sweet. You need to reduce the bitter. So fenugreek, that herb fenugreek, yeah. I think you have that herb that I sent you. It's like a brown seed.
Okay, that's one. This is the one, right? Fenugreek, right?
Yeah, so fenugreek, you take a teaspoon and then soak it overnight in warm water, and next day drink that water. It'll be bitter. So you do this regularly. However, if I'm going to take 1 glass of fenugreek juice and then 3 slices of cake every day, it's not going to help.
Yeah, that's
Right?
right.
So the responsibility still lies in me. So the bitter food really does help the people with diabetes. So bitter gourd is another food. All kinds of vegetables also they have that bitter taste. That's good. But Vata is person with more space and air, they have to be very mindful about taking bitter food, because it will add more space and air to their body constitution. Right? So that's why I say that, it is very customized. It is never a one solution fits all.
Yeah.
For myopia, we can do some eye exercise to help make it worse. Because you see, from an Ayurveda perspective, there's something called digestion. Even the TCM looks at it. Digestion is the key. Whatever I eat, you see, even the eye is made up of tissues. This tissue comes from the food. The food that I eat has to be digested, assimilated, converted into body tissues. Now, if the digestion is not happening properly, it's not going to be assimilated and converted into eye tissues. So that's where it's going to be a problem as well. But there are eye treatment like the one you're showing on the screen. It's called Tarpana. So they will put a kind of a cover around using the white color thing that you see there is actually lentils.
Oh, lentils.
So, yeah, they make into a dough in lentil powder. They make into a dough and they surround the eye so that the oil doesn't leak out. And then they immerse the eye in herbal oil. So please don't try this at home, because different, like I said, there are 20 types of diabetes. Looking at which type of myopia. Myopia also could be Vata, Pitta, Kapha type. So everything is based on the 5 elements that I talked about. I still don't like to use the word elements, but right now there's no we call it Panchamahabhuta. The Sanskrit word is Panchamahabhuta. There's no English translation for it. These 5 Panchabhutas are the one that constitute the body. So based on which one is high, that herb will be infused in that oil. So if you and I have myopia, the doctor may give you, both of us may have the same treatment as you see it on the screen, but the herbal oil they use will be different.
I see. Okay.
Mm.
So a very experienced Ayurveda practitioner would be able to just look at that person, and I guess they would have like a prescription given that this is the person's myopia, you know, and then they would be able to know that, oh, this
Yes.
person, you know, I would need to provide a different kind of, you know, paste, etc. Is that?
They will ask you a lot of questions first.
Okay.
So asking you a lot of questions and making sure that, knowing your body, your constitution, Ayurveda constitution is not body type because it involves the mind as well. And interestingly, Ayurveda said that if you're under stress, if you're going through grief, if you have a lot of anger, anxiety, treatment is not going to be as effective as well.
So
Because
people,
like I explained about the sympathetic if you're constantly on that go mode, the medicine is also not going to be going to its targeted place and doing what it needs to do.
yes, yeah, I totally get you on that because, you know, I used to have asthma when I was young. But then when I took myself out of a particular working environment, you know, and I changed it and, you know, it completely left me, you know. I didn't even have to take, you know, my Ventolin or things like that. So I totally get you, you know, because, you know, it's somehow it's to do with the emotional and the mental states as well. So
Exactly.
while the foods are there, you know, it's always your makeup, your composition. So some people actually they eat very well, you know, they actually take the right things, they even exercise, but why are they having diabetes, for example? It's their emotional state that they have that is not being released, you know, and that mental state as well, right? So that's why
Yeah.
it's always the responsibility of the person, not just to check out his physical condition, but his emotional and mental condition as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ayurveda and yoga talks about 5 bodies. We only see the physical body. We actually have 4 subtle bodies. These subtle bodies is within us. One of it is the prana, the breathing. The other one is the mind. And interestingly, mind they divide into 2, the mind and the wisdom.
Okay.
See, if I have a knife, my mind knows this is a knife, it is sharp, it can cut. That's the mind. The wisdom will tell, do I use this knife for a good purpose to cut fruits, to, if I'm a doctor, to heal person, or do I use it to kill somebody or rob someone? See,
Yeah.
that's where wisdom comes in. So Ayurveda gives this good distinction between mind and wisdom. And then there is that happiness body. So all these play a part. In modern medicine, we only look at the physical body. We don't look at the other 4.
Okay. All right.
So these play a role in all disease manifestation as well.
Okay. Now you so believe in it. I can see it based on how you are talking, you're explaining, you know, it's so natural to you. Now in the course of your work, have you met people who so not believe in it? You know, any detractors, naysayers, critics, you know, how do you deal with that?
Yes, I used to go to Taiwan very often.
Okay.
And interestingly, again, I've been very blessed, work with allopathic hospitals. So some of the largest hospitals, Sochuan Memorial Hospital, Changan Memorial Hospital, and these doctors are amazingly interested in Ayurveda and yoga. But I was invited once to give a talk to actually surgeons,
Okay.
and a group of surgeons who do non-invasive medicine. So after that, we had lunch and one Korean. So it's all from Asia. And this guy was a bit hesitant. But I told him about scientific research about turmeric, how they did the research with the mice. He looked at me, he said, this is what we need. We need someone to correlate all this science with Ayurveda. Now you brought me in. That's
Wow.
what he said. And
Okay.
I've been invited by the Malaysian Medical Association to give talks on Ayurveda and yoga. So you can see a lot of them are now becoming open and receptive to it. So now that more people are becoming open and receptive, they do realize that ancient medicine has a lot to offer because ancient medicine is based on quantum science. Previously, it was all classical physics. Because of classical physics, everyone is looking at that. Now, quantum science is becoming more accepted, and ancient medicine is based on quantum science. And more than quantum science, people are beginning to be more open and receptive. So, for that, in that sense, I have less challenge. But what I also do is I tell them, look, if you say, a problem, let's look at the case of cholesterol and butter. I don't know if you remember. I think you have that particular
Yes, let's share
slide that I
with
gave
our
you.
audience. It's right.
Yeah. In 1984, it was like butter is bad, butter is bad, butter is bad. That was the mantra that was coming in all the newspaper. But then in 2014, butter is good, have more butter. The
Yes.
same thing with coconut oil. Coconut oil is bad, it's bad, it's bad. Now they say it's so good that people are just taking a spoon of coconut oil, which is very bad. You
Yes.
see, the principle, like I told you, we have the five bhutas, the earth and space, we have that in our body. Earth and space tend to have the dryness, whereas water and earth is the unctuousness. So if you look at our brain has that buttery quality. You know, if you look at the brain, if you somebody takes the brain out, you put it on the floor, it has a kind of a buttery quality. You need to maintain that unctuousness, that oiliness. So when you totally stay away from all oily food, you are drying up your brains.
See. I
Do you
see.
understand? So that's why oil is not bad. And Ayurveda mentioned 5,000 years ago, coconut oil was good. Then modern science came for a while and say coconut oil is bad. Now they come and say coconut oil is good. So this is what I communicate to people and they say, yes, you are right. You know, so I don't have much challenge telling people about Ayurveda because I said, look, they say it was bad, now they say it's good. They say it is bad, now they say it's good. Ayurveda say 5,000 years ago it was good, until now it's good. It hasn't changed. So this is how I communicate.
Okay, that's wonderful to know that, you know. Okay, so yeah, I guess over the years, the challenges, the critics get smaller and smaller, and people begin to see the signs and the proven aspects of Ayurveda, and so that's why, you know, they are more open and receptive to it. So good. So on the flip side, I'm very sure you have a lot of raving reviews with regards to Ayurveda. You know, I'm sure your clients, your students, you know, have kind of like shared quite a lot of it. Can you just share with us just two testimonies of your students or your clients who have experienced Ayurveda, and these testimonies that they share with you have kind of moved you in a personal way? It has been like perhaps etched in your mind, you know, it's maybe because it's very original. Would you like to share that with us?
Okay. One of it is actually a doctor, an allopathic doctor, emergency doctor in Taiwan. And
Okay.
he's like my greatest fan. Every time I go to Taiwan, he's attending all my classes and he's so excited. And he will then give me research paper and say, Vasanthi, look, you said this. Look, the research shows this, the research. And he's constantly feeding me with information and supporting me. So Dr.
Wonderful.
Lee,
Yes.
yeah, that's him. He's in Taiwan. And he's an allopathic doctor and he's now going into energy medicine as well, you know. So he's really into this non-physical, apart from physical, he sees. And he wanted to do a research, you know, so we started doing a lot of research there. So that's one. And many other students, I do a lot of online classes now, and many students write to me to say that they have applied it. For me, it's like I do a lot of training, I enjoy it. When students write to me and say, Vasanthi, I actually applied it. You told you must do this, I applied, I'm feeling very good. That also for me is a very good testimony.
Yes,
Mm.
I think it's great motivation as well that what you're doing is, you know, reaping fruits in others. It's like it generates so much goodness, right? So just you know,
Yes.
like I think that joy is kind of like that fulfillment within. It's so it's, I don't know how to describe it, and I'm very sure you do, right? I think it gives you that
Yes,
glow, and you know, it spurs you on to spread more and more about this goodness, right?
exactly.
That's right.
That's so very true. Yeah.
Okay. Now, on the personal side, have you experienced any kind of personal breakthroughs, during this whole experience with Ayurveda, just for yourself? Would you like to share maybe one or two with us? Any personal breakthroughs?
Yes, actually, in the beginning, like I said, I don't have Ayurveda background, and to learn the foundation of Ayurveda was very challenging, especially the five Panchamahabhuta, how it becomes Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and all the doctors would tell me, and I would try to process it and find it really challenging. But years and years of learning it, I realized that I could actually, this is not coming from ego, because I struggled to learn Ayurveda. I struggled to understand what is meant by Vata, Pitta, Kapha. I struggled all this, the nutrition, how to apply the principles. Because I struggle, I wanted to make sure that when I teach, I don't allow the students to go through that. So I put together in a very simplified way without losing the essence, without losing the original Ayurveda topic, to put it together and to be able to communicate. So many people think Ayurveda, because it's Indian, I must eat Indian food, right? I've had a lot of Ayurveda in the early stages of learning Ayurveda, where Ayurveda doctors would say into the class, all of you must start eating Indian food. And I'm going,
Oh,
I know I'm a third generation Singaporean. I cannot eat Indian food every day. My mother used to make mee siam, Chinese food, fried rice, tau goreng. I cannot have Indian food every day. And how can you expect my Chinese friends to? So then I learned that the challenge in Ayurveda is to make it universal, which is Ayurveda is universal. And then to go to Taiwan and to communicate it. And to Taiwan students, we will go for lunch and dinner. Rita, the student will sit and say, oh, Vasanthi, this is Vata, this is Pitta, this is Kapha. Oh, I understand why the food is done with the Chinese food.
wonderful. That's so wonderful.
Exactly.
You pick it up so well. I think you've explained it so wonderful. You have a wonderful way of making, these complex concepts so simple. So kudos to you, Vasanthi.
That, I would say, is my breakthrough. That was my real breakthrough, that I managed to overcome that and go through and communicate. And if you look at my Facebook page, most of my students are Chinese. How are they going to understand Ayurveda?
That's right.
So be able to communicate this in a simple way without losing the essence, and telling the importance of remembering some of the Sanskrit word, is also a challenge that I managed to overcome.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, yeah, thank you. So you are able to crystallize something that's so complex, make it easy to understand, and especially to a culture that considers it quite foreign initially. So that was
Yes.
personal break. That's a big breakthrough, Vasanthi. I'm like so
Yes.
proud of you. I'm sure you're like, wow, I did this, it's like wonderful, Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
I thought
you.
you are really a wonderful role model, for women and for women entrepreneurs. And when I say this, I mean it. You're like, I truly mean it. I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity, to interview you. So I feel that you're a wonderful role model. Now, were there challenges that you had to experience and face as a woman in Singapore, doing this line of work? Were there any challenges or any struggles you had to face because you were a woman?
To be honest, no. Because Ayurveda is something, it's based on knowledge. If you have the knowledge and you can communicate, there are Ayurveda doctors in Singapore. Most of them, in fact, I would say all of them are from India. And I've had feedback, like when they have, say, an organization invites them and invites me, they say that I'm able to communicate better. So it's not coming from an ego. Like I said, the challenge was I myself struggled to understand, how can I relate to the local people? How can I talk about chap chai? How can I talk about Chinese food and relate to Ayurveda? That is something they couldn't, because they are so used to having their food from there, which is natural, right? So that, as a woman, I did not encounter any challenge. But when I went to India,
Okay.
I did have challenge because I'm a woman. So, so I am married, but I don't wear the traditional Indian thing and all. So if I go there as a single woman, it can be challenging, right? So I
You
won't
get
get,
on because you're so gorgeous.
yeah. I
Okay,
wouldn't want
okay.
that. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that. I go there with a focus of just focusing on Ayurveda.
Okay.
Having said that, I am truly blessed. You see, because my focus and passion is Ayurveda, I feel the universe has protected me. So every institute I went to try and work with them, they only saw my passion. They never saw me as a woman, and they never tried to hit on me or anything. All the CEOs saw that, God, this girl has passion, let me work with her. If she's going to spread Ayurveda, I will support her. So I never experienced any of those with the institutes I work with and with all the doctors I work with. So
Wonderful.
the ones that I work with till now are the ones who only look at me for my passion, not for anything else.
Okay, that's what you
Yeah.
think, perhaps, you know.
No, no, no. I
I'm
can
just
tell you
joking.
from
I'm
my
just
heart.
joking. I'm just
Yes, from
kidding.
my heart, I can tell you it's genuine.
All right. Okay. So, yeah. So this idea about, struggles. I was just wondering whether do people like. I think they have to take you seriously, even as a woman, because what you are, explaining, elaborating, expounding, are such worthwhile concepts. It's sensible. It's grounded in science. It bears good fruit. So, and I think you also have a very credible persona, and the fact that you have a background, people can't but help sit up and listen to you. And then perhaps, and also because you come across as very sincere, so I think any man or woman, would definitely cooperate very willingly with you, so this is how I see it. So yeah. Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
No worries. Okay, so do you have, out of the multiple tips and wisdom that I see in you, can you share maybe like two tips, and if there was like two tips or two gems of wisdom that you can share with budding entrepreneurs, whether men or women, what would that be and why?
Two things. One, I would say definitely don't allow fear to overrule you. You see,
Okay.
the first time when I learned yoga in 1995, at that time yoga was not popular. When I came back to Singapore, I have 3 degrees. So when I came back at that time, people was like, "Why do yoga? Go get a proper job." So go get a proper job. And then I knew in my heart I wanted to promote it, but then I was listening to all the voices. So first, don't listen to the voice. Because I listened to the voice, I kind of started late on the yoga path. I went back to work. I work. I'm unhappy. My soul wants something else, but everybody is telling me to do something else. So then that struggle, I would say find your purpose, connect to your heart. Don't listen to all the outside. If you strongly feel for it, go for it. If that's your purpose, go for it. Having said that, don't do like what I did. I can afford to give up my job because I don't have children. My husband is very supportive, not financially, but he doesn't stop me from doing my passion. He's very excited about, me finding my passion. But be balanced as well. Find your purpose. So if you find your purpose and okay, I cannot leave the job because job is giving me money, at the same time purpose is not going to give me money, then do the job, but at least once a week do whatever your purpose is. That will energize you, that will keep you going. Then you go to work, earn the money, do whatever you need to do, and then once a week re-energize yourself. Always connect to your heart and the purpose. Universe will show you the way. Be open.
Yeah, I think these are wonderful tips, in fact, gems actually, right? Don't be afraid, understand and follow your heart, your passion, but also be
Yeah.
sensible because like it takes time to grow that dream, and it takes consistency and discipline, and you need to, kind of have the balance where everything also needs some kind of money and time to grow. So very beautiful gems that, yeah, people with passions, entrepreneurs just starting out, basically they have to do that. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Now on that, perhaps just last few questions to round out today's session. Okay, in the course of your beautiful journey with Ayurveda, what do you think were aspects within yourself, that have helped you to achieve this wonderful stage that you are right now? What are certain, character traits or aspects within yourself you feel, the core aspects that have helped you to achieve this stage?
Hmm. I would say maybe my willingness to be open. When I was very close to a lot of things about quantum, you want to call it quantum, at that time it was more philosophy. When I was very close, at one point
Quantum
I was an
physics, is it?
atheist.
That's what people call it
Yeah,
now, right? Quantum physics, right?
yeah. Yeah, at one point I was very skeptical about, the divine or anything like that. Very, very skeptical. I was an atheist. But the journey in my life made me like trigger point, trigger point. When I went to India in 1995, I experienced a couple of things that words cannot express and all. And instead of resisting, I allowed it. So I just allowed all this to happen. And from that allowing, I actually started introspecting. I started looking at myself and said, maybe, rather than saying no, maybe there's a possibility, maybe there's a possibility. So I allowed all this to happen and be more flowing. I told you, I used to be very angry, very rigid. If it's like this, if it's like that, like that. But when I started flowing, allowing things to happen and all, that was one thing that changed me. And recently my parents' illness, right? So I never realized, I read a lot of books. I don't know if you've read the book Journey of the Souls by Michael Newton. You have to read, it's amazing. Anita Mojani, Dying to Be Me. These are all books that really helped me before my parents passed on. And because of what I was taking care of them and all, so that there's that negative part, which I can say, because I was grieving, I never realized when Ayurveda, one of the things it says is you choose your parents. Now, when I first heard that in Ayurveda way back in 2008, choose my parents, why would I choose them? I would choose someone who's a millionaire, billionaire. Now I tell you, Rita, I am so grateful and thankful when I look at the journey in my life, why my mother was my mother, why my father was my father, the groundedness you're talking about, the character traits I have, it's because of them. And if I am what I am now, whatever words you want to use, wisdom, it's all because of them. And I would say kudos to them. The values and the principles they imparted. And I wouldn't choose anyone else. I wouldn't choose Bill Gates as my parent.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
this, yeah. So I guess, yeah, the slow allowing things, right? Allowing yourself to be rather than, putting yourself into this box. This is the way I want to see it, rather than how can I see it? And
Yes,
slowly when you allow things start to move, and it has helped you a great deal to this wonderful stage, not just in your professional area, but also in your personal area. So
exactly.
that's a deep and very warm sharing that we all can learn from, and me too. So thank you so much for that. Okay, now who are your biggest cheerleaders now? That who the people in your life, because you took just now, you begin to introspect and realize that certain things about you help to spur you on. Now, externally, who are the people out there in your life? If you could pick maybe one, who are your biggest cheerleaders who motivate
I
you?
have a small group of friends, and all of them are. But if you want me to pick one,
This
my
one?
my siblings, my two sisters are my greatest cheerleaders. In fact, I always call them my cheerleaders. They will like, go for it,
Yo,
go,
yo.
yeah. And even before you use the word cheerleaders, for weeks, I would say, from the time parents pass on, for them, whatever you do, we support you.
Okay.
They are my greatest cheerleaders.
Yeah. I think it's nice. I remember I have sisters too. And like you, we used to quarrel a lot when we were young, pull each other's hair. But then now it's like evolved, and we think that they, yeah, it's grown so differently, right? And even the moments, even in your journey, there'll always be moments that there will be dark holes,
Yes.
they are the best, they provide I remembered my sister used to tell me in one of my darkest patches in my life, she used to say, the chapter of the book is not written yet. There are many more chapters, you know. So it's like, you know, it just takes somebody like that to say, oh yeah, right. I write the ending of my book. And she was so wise, and that was my younger sister. You know, so I totally get you, you know, when, you know, your siblings sometimes, you know, initially at the start, they may not have been the best. I would not have picked them initially at the start, but right now when you say it, right, yeah, you know, they actually are sometimes, you know, when they say the hardest thing sometimes, but also the things that push us through, right? And, you know, bring us to where we are, you know? Yeah, thank you for sharing.
They usually are not hard, but whatever I say, I'm doing this, they say, go for it. And then they'll ask questions and they'll be so excited for me. They'll give me ideas, you know, even though they are not into Ayurveda and yoga. So I really love them for that.
The good vibes there, right? And there's so much respect, right? Even if they're not into, they can share that joy. So this is really a mature respect that's given, which is very good vibes for you, right?
And when you are a sole entrepreneur, you don't want people around like, are you sure it'll work? Are you sure? How much money will you make? You know, you don't do this, you know, that those kind of people,
My sister, you already have your self-doubts, right? Sometimes it's there. So you don't want people just to burst the bubble, right? You just want like, okay, wait, sounds exciting, you know, go and try, right? Yeah,
yes.
Go and try. You know, and even they may not even subscribe to you, but they give you that, you know, that excitement.
Yes.
Yeah, you're very fortunate also.
I am.
All right, maybe one last question is, right now, what is your pet passion? Is there a book that you're working on, or a new program that you're working on, you know, that you feel you want to get it out there because it's so valuable? You know, you want to share that with the wider YouTube audience here?
Yes, you see, there are people who learn yoga and there's people who learn Ayurveda. I find Ayurveda and yoga are sister science. You need both. So many people think Ayurveda is all about herbs, treatment and all. It is. But the mind plays a very important role as well. Many people who learn yoga, they think yoga is just posture. Posture is just asana. Yoga means union, the mind, body, and your true self. Did you know that? Many people think, see, like when you show that, they say, oh, I'm doing yoga. No, you're not doing yoga. If I am sitting in that posture, let's say the posture that you're showing on the screen, if in that posture, I am thinking about now, what shall I have for lunch, you know? Then it is not yoga. Yoga means you have to be in alignment with your true self. You should be united with your connected to your heart. You should feel the subtle vibration in your body while you are in that position. So every posture, so there are 8-step yoga, that's the classical yoga. I'm very passionate about promoting this classical yoga and combine with Ayurveda. So yes, you need the herbs and treatment for the body. You need yoga, the classical yoga, where it teaches you about alignment, about inner alignment, connecting with your true potential. That connection is what I call the Ayurvedic yoga, which I am teaching now as an Ayurvedic yoga teacher training program. I've been doing teacher training program since 2010. So I combine these two, which is very, very popular in Taiwan. I've trained several teachers. So now I'm just launching this program from next year. I think it's your next slide down.
Okay, all right, this one, right? Oh, the certificate.
Right.
Tell us more about this. Wonderful. So you're training yoga teachers, and they will get a certificate as well for this training program. And it's done in your company, Innergy Asia?
Yes, but I'm collaborating with the institute in India, like I told you, those people who support me. So this institute, Ayurveda Institute, is very interesting because it is an integrative hospital. It is actually part and parcel of an allopathic hospital. So imagine SGH has an entire building just for Ayurveda.
Wonderful.
So there is that hospital that has an entire building for Ayurveda, and one of the top Ayurveda doctors in India, who I'm very grateful, who's my teacher. So we are collaborating to come up with this Ayurvedic yoga teacher training program, and his institute will offer the certificate. Whereas the foundation program, which I do, the Ayurveda, you need to have the foundation. That I will do, the Ayurveda Association will give the certificate. When they become teacher training, when they become yoga teachers, or when they become diet lifestyle counselors, then the certificate comes from India.
Okay, great, good. So I will put this into our link below, your website and all the various programs. So you guys out there, if you are interested, you know, you can always go down and click on the link and find out more, right? Yeah, maybe just one last thing. I was very interested. You actually have a program as well, which I think I saw on your, I think I saw, do you have like food? Do you teach people how to prepare foods as well?
Yes, but that's based on Ayurveda principle. So
Okay,
Ayurvedic nutrition, we call it holistic nutrition. So
okay,
you see, you can have a particular food, but if your digestion is not at its peak, that food is not going to be converted into your body tissues. So
okay,
we teach what we call holistic nutrition.
okay, all right, good. So these are the new things. I think not so new, it's been there, but I think you want to just like push it forward because there's so much value that we all can glean from it, right? Right.
Yes.
Good. Yes. I think, wow, in this session, we've learned so much, you know, your personal side, which is so wonderful to know. We can all relate to you. And then all the benefits of Ayurveda and yoga, even, you know. So thank you, Vasanthi, for this wonderful opportunity. You know, I'm so excited. And I think the whole time today, it's like I'm just talking to a friend. You know, it's like it's wiser, and more gorgeous. And, you know, yeah, such a real person, you know, which is really good. And I do get what you're saying. The whole principle of the heart, the mind, the body, you know, and how you become more aware of yourself as a person, and not just the physical aspects, but the emotional, the mental aspects, and how we grow and evolve with that. And so I think
Yes.
it's really a blessing that you have gravitated towards this, and now you've opened up the doors to so many people. So thank you so much. You know.
Thank you very much for having me, Rita. Thank you very much.
No worries. Okay, so I'll put down Vasanthi's links down. So those of you who want to, please come on board and check out her yoga programs. And you know, the many others. And those of you who who have a special affinity to yoga, why not do the teacher training? I might even just go there and, you know, put my head in. Yeah. All right. So you take care, and yeah, thank you and have a great day ahead. Okay. So
Thank you
bye-bye
very
now.
much.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.